Welcome to FD Conversations. I'm Daphne Nicolopoulos, the editorial director for Florida Design. And today I have with me Paul Fischman and Ralph Choeff from Choeff, Levy, Fischman, which is an architecture firm in Miami. And we are going to be talking about a very special project, which is the private residence of Alex Rodriguez in Coral Gables. Welcome, Paul and Ralph. Good to see you today.
Thank you, Daphne.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, I guess the last time I saw you was when we were doing the photo shoot at the residence, and so it's good to talk to you now after the story has been published. I just wanted to elaborate a little bit on the questions we had asked you when we did do the story, and see what kind of insight we can get on your relationship with Alex, your working relationship, and how you came to sort of conceive this amazing home. So now you've designed Alex's previous home in Miami Beach. This is actually your second project for him. Could you tell me how different this project was from the first? Maybe some similarities and some differences.
Ralph will be able to feel that one better because I only worked on the second.
I would say the program and the programming requirements for both homes were completely different. In the first house, he was a bachelor, and the second house, he also was a bachelor. But in the first house, he wanted this very white, museum-ish kind of modern feel.
It was beachy. That's
Beachy. That's a great word. And in the second home, he wanted more of a Tom Ford. Look. And for the second home, he wanted a one-story home, so we designed it in pods. And so they both had completely different programs, but the only commonality between the two of them were indoor-outdoor feel, open spaces, a real house for great family and entertainment.
And then I would say also just a big part of it is the art. Alex is a big art collector, and you can see, just I'll refer more to the second house that I worked on. You'll see the house is really a display for his art collection.
Absolutely.
On top of other things that Ralph said.
Yes, exactly. And what an amazing art collection it is. And I want to talk a little bit about that in a moment. So obviously to get to design one home for somebody like Alex Rodriguez is amazing. To get to design two homes for him, I mean, that is just beyond. So obviously you have an amazing relationship with him. To what do you attribute this?
The first house was very successful. But what Alex wants to do, his common goal, is to develop a team that he trusts, that he can work with. And the team is basically himself as the lead. Then he's got his construction company, which is Newport. Then he's got us as the architect, which is Choeff, Levy, Fischman. And then he's got Briggs, Solomon Edwards, which is his interior designer. And we all formulate what we call the team, and we work seamlessly together to design these for Alex. So Alex was so happy with the first house. We've actually become friendly with him, and we designed his second house as well. And so we have a terrific relationship with Alex Rodriguez and hope to continue so throughout the years.
And it did help, let me just add, Daphne, it did help that Ralph, with his design of the original house, broke every single real estate record in Miami Beach. I think that definitely helped with the relationship. Alex is a very savvy investor, as I'm sure you know. So I'm sure aside from all the lovely stuff, Ralph made him a lot of money as well.
Well, that's great. That's important too, right? It's not just the great architecture, but I guess if he responded that well to it, somebody else did too, and will continue to. So now you touched a little bit on this earlier, but let's talk about Alex's primary objectives in the design of this home. And then let's kind of get into a little bit of detail about how those objectives pushed you to innovate.
In terms of the objectives of the home, Ralph touched on it great earlier. Was isolating the different we'll call them buckets of lifestyle, if you will. And, you know, one of the common buckets was the art and the indoor, outdoor living, et cetera, et cetera. However, he wanted a detached office, you know, so that he could actually meet with, you know, clients, et cetera, at his home, that away from everything. He wanted his, the family side of the house. He wanted that to remain the family side of the house and not to be, you know, not really for guests and et cetera, et cetera. So then he has this whole, you know, Ralph laid it out in a way that it's all pods. So, you know, for instance, the front is just all service. It's low voltage. It's you know, it's the service rooms and all essentially the boring stuff in the building that we don't care, you know, that doesn't make architect or Florida Design or Architectural Digest, but we were able to compartmentalize the house in all these different pods, and, you know, the indoor, outdoor, the art really is what ties everything together.
Oh, sure. So now those pods, I think the office that you brought up earlier, that's kind of off by itself. So that is a pod. And I think the girls, his daughter's area, that is a different pod. I think the master bedroom, am I getting it right? But you can maybe explain like what each pod represents.
And that's exactly what it is. We have the kids' rooms. You know, the kids' pod is it's the 2 bedrooms, and we have a little pajama room in between. You know, so they can do projects. So there's the kids' pod. There's the master pod, which includes the master bedroom, master bathroom, master foyer, master closet. I mean, as you know from the house, it's pretty much a whole section of the house.
Yes.
Then there is the family pod, which I would probably say the middle pod. You know, because that's where that's where they have breakfast. That's where they watch TV. That's where they have dining room. That's where the girls do their homework when they're there. And then there's I call the entertainment pod, which is, you know, theater, game room. It was a gym that was converted into another game room. So we kind of have the fun side of the house.
Right.
One more pod to it, and that's the entry pod. And the entry pod it's very distinct, and it's really what catches your eye on the pictures, which is they come in and they see the exterior right away, the pool and the backyard, and it has 2 powder rooms in it. So it's its own separate entry, and you have the choice. You can either make a right or you can make a left, and each one has different uses. The pods are also accessible not only from interior quarters, but from the exterior as well. So you can use the house in many different ways.
Yes, I love the way that is situated. And talking about the entry pod, I think the first thing that strikes anyone really who enters a home is the art, because the entry pod is sort of set up in a way as a gallery. I mean, when you go off to the right and to the left, there are these monumental works of art. Can you tell me about how you worked that art into the architecture, and to what degree it sort of dictated your design that you had to accommodate these monumental pieces?
Well, basically, we design gallery walls, and our hallways are extra wide, very wide, so you can step back like you were in an art gallery, and the walls are plain. And so it serves as a museum type function for his artwork. Plus, we also have extensive wall areas that he uses for his art.
And then also what Ralph did that was really cool when he laid out the house was he actually, between in the family pod, it's separated by a formal art gallery. So in addition to all that wall space, we actually created a gallery in between, we'll call it the family room and the kitchen. And so you actually get to walk through a formal gallery. So if he wanted to have a real, any real gallery could actually set up in this house.
Yes, exactly. No, it's wonderful. And the other thing that I found intriguing about the home is its relationship to the outdoors. I mean, it's so tied to the exteriors, and you achieved that, I think, in a few different ways, including kind of blurring the boundaries through these disappearing glass walls, which I thought were amazing. I mean, it seems like a real sort of structural feat. And I was going to ask you, about how you did that, how you were able to accomplish it.
So this is to your point, Daphne. It was a structural feat. I can actually tell you, my structural engineer told me no the entire time.
What do you know, right?
They always tell me no, but I was able to take a little bit of my high-rise experience with post-tension and apply it to single family. The way we were able to do that, we were able to create these very large overhangs using post-tension construction. So what that does is it allows you to have thinner members, but it also allows you to have greater expanses with no beams and no ceiling. So if you'll notice in Alex's house, you're pretty much just looking out into glass at all times. You don't see any soffit space. You don't really see anything except the indoors and the outdoors. And so the way we're able to accomplish that is A, through the post-tension, and then B is I had to design a series of upturned beams that from your view, you can't see them. So from ground level, you can't see them. But if you were to fly a drone over the house, you would actually see where I designed my beams. And instead of going down as they do traditionally in architecture, I designed the beams so they go up. So they're actually supporting everything on the roof, opposed to on a beam below the roof, which is the standard construction.
Yeah. And that's when you see the walls. I mean, just we have some photos that we're going to work into this video as well. But what is really cool is how they disappear on both sides, and there's no joint. So, like you said, there's not a beam sort of separating that corner, and that entire sort of L-shaped wall just disappears away, and
those are what we call our exterior pocket doors, and our corner meet doors, which are our 90-degree corners. And I think Alex's house, I honestly think it was the first house we designed the columnless corner, because this is right. We have to keep up with technology, being in a high velocity hurricane zone. So there's only certain manufacturers that work. They had just come out, Windor had just come out with their 0.90-degree opening that disappears in pockets. So you have that system, but you still have to design all the structure around it. So if you can't cantilever all that fun stuff, then it's effective. It's ineffective. So we designed these pockets so that during the nicer times of year, maybe not right now, with all this humidity, that those all disappear into the pockets, and it literally looks like the roof is just floating over the entire house with nothing supporting it. And that's really what we strive to do on our, with our exteriors or 3D design, is really kind of visually defy gravity and almost confuse the eye as to thinking things are floating, even though we know that they can withstand over 200-mile-per-hour winds.
That's amazing. Visually defy gravity. I think that describes it perfectly. So I wanted to also talk a little bit about the materials you used. I noticed that a lot of the exterior walls are also repeated indoors, those sort of concrete walls. Can you talk a little bit about that, about the materials that sort of were interchangeable between indoors and out?
So what we like to do with our pockets, I'm glad you brought that up. I just had an interior design meeting where they tried changing the material on the inside from the outside, and I made it stink. And there's a reason for it. We don't look at it as interiors and exteriors. We look at this as architecture and design. And so what we like to do with these doors open, the idea is that we want this to be a monolithic element. These doors disappear into this monolithic element that isn't just on the outside or just on the inside. It's an element that's both. And so it's really important for us, and even in areas when we'll even use paint sometimes if it's value engineered, or let's say they don't want to put wood on the inside and we have a wood pocket, we'll go with a wood colored wallpaper, maybe not wood colored, but wood tone, similar to what you have behind you. There are ways we can do that. The idea is we want it to be monolithic. So when those pocket doors disappear into them, and back to just visually defying gravity right there. And that really accentuates it. It's away from the two-tone, we don't like two-tone Cadillacs at CLF. We really like, materials coming inside and outside. We like the whole design to be integrated, from landscape to interiors to everything from structure. So that's really the essence behind it.
Some of the materials we used were ebonized wood, and of course there is the stucco, and we have raw concrete, and that mostly happens in the master bedroom wing, where the raw concrete is on the exterior wall, but it also translates into the back wall of the master bed itself. So it's a great backdrop. So you're continuing the architecture inside and outside, and nothing is faked. Everything is real. So the design or the materials that were used on this house were extremely simple, and we kept it as elegant as possible.
Well, sometimes simplicity has the biggest impact. So that's certainly the case here.
With an art collection like this.
Oh, sure, and that certainly takes center stage, I would say. I mean, that makes a huge impact, which is probably hard to do when you have such a wonderful view and amazing architecture all around you. But it really does, I think, take center stage. So.
Oh, that's great.
And the other thing with this home that is so much fun. I mean, you can tell, obviously, Alex loves his toys. There's some, this sort of outdoor trampoline, and then, lounge area by the pool, and all kinds of fun spots for gathering, for entertaining. But of course, it's really conducive to family time as well. Can you talk about how you designed for entertaining and how you also achieved balance between those private and public spaces?
Well, entertainment spaces are kept as open as possible, so one space relates to another. In this house, you have two different pods of entertainment spaces. You have one which is mostly a game room, and it's also a lounge, a bar, and a theater. And that's for one type of entertainment. Then you have another wing or another pod, which is dining and living. That's for a more formal way to entertain. Now, how do we mix the two together? Well, you have complete sliders that open up in both areas. So you can just look outside and see one area from the other. Actually, it blurs the line between what's inside and outside, because you actually feel the spaces like they're inside, but they're really, you have to go outside to go back inside. So we visually join all the spaces together, but we separate them into different areas for different uses, and that is also very good for family. When you design around your family, you do want to separate those two spaces in case one part of the family is doing something while the other is doing another thing. Paul, can you add to that?
I think you did a splendid job.
Well, thank you.
I can't top that, Daphne.
I think also what I would add to that is that obviously that pod concept is really conducive to kind of separating the uses, and so several things can be happening at the same time. You can have the daughters sort of in their own area while they're entertaining, formally in the dining room, or while somebody else might be in the theater room, watching a movie or what have you, and nobody would ever know what the other is doing, because it is really conducive to that sort of privacy. So another thing that I wanted to ask you, his first house that you designed for him was on the water, and this one is definitely not a waterfront. It's in Coral Gables. Can you speak a little bit about sort of the appeal of Coral Gables?
Well, Alex, it's actually, the area is called Ponce Davis, mm-hmm. And Alex grew up in this area. Oh. Alex used to live in this area. When we designed the house for him on Miami Beach, it was the first time that he was on Miami Beach. But that being said, the downfall of that waterfront lot for Alex is he lost his privacy. There were a lot of gawkers, a lot of boats came around, and whoever was in the house, Alex couldn't even enjoy his own pool or barbecue area. So he said once he sold this house, he was going to buy an interior lot, but an interior lot that was so grand and so large that you would feel like you're in your own Zen community. And that's exactly what he did. And that's how the two houses differ, why one's on an interior lot and why one's on the water.
Yeah, that's amazing. I didn't think of it quite that way, but you're right. I mean, the boats constantly go by, and probably everybody knows whose house that is. And that's this lot is wonderful as far as privacy goes. All right. Well, this kind of wraps up the questions I have. I'd love to hear if you have any other input, anything you think was kind of fun to note while you were working on this project.
I met a lot of celebrities.
I'm sure you did.
Actually, when we started on his first house, he was dating Cameron Diaz.
Oh.
He became friendly with Cameron. She's a beautiful, wonderful lady. And we used to have dinners together. We used to go out. It was a lot of fun. Then in this house, of course, he dated a few women in between. And in this house, now he started dating Jennifer Lopez. So, and actually that's a fiance. It goes a little bit further. So we got to meet Jennifer and her family. And I got to tell you one thing. The combination of Jennifer and Alex and their families is amazing. The vibe is terrific. The kids love each other. His kids love her. Her kids love him. It is amazing to see. It really is. It's wonderful.
That's wonderful. And, obviously it's, meant to be that it seems like they would really get on perfectly. You know what I mean? Just knowing at least what you see publicly of them, but you have even further insight. You've seen it from
They get along famously. They get along. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's a great family vibe.
Yes, exactly. And so now the house has become an even bigger family house. Isn't that the case? That's great. So it's lovely how it can sort of adapt and evolve to suit a lot of different needs and uses.
Right. That is true.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, Paul and Ralph, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for all this insight on this amazing project. And I hope you'll come back and tell us about, further projects you do, because your architectural style is, absolutely stunning. We enjoy publishing your projects, and it's been fun talking to you today. Thank you so much.
Take care.
This is Daphne Nicolopoulos for Florida Design. Thank you for joining us.